Mom. Hello, everybody. If you're here, hello. If you're not, hello.
Hello, if you're not. How will they know that you said hello? If they're not here?
I said it telepathically. Telepathically.
Telepathically way.
Telepathically.
Telepathy.
We are supposed to have a Tori, but I think she might be stuck at work. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but hello. Hi. How are you? Have you had a good day?
It's me. Sorry.
I am the problem. Because it got to like 7:25 and I was like listening to my audiobook and I was like, maybe I can just go and like sit in my bed and chill and read. And then I was like, oh, there's a reason I'm sat at my desk. Because we have live at 7:30.
So, although I did nearly fall asleep. I was like, oh, I need to wake
Rude. That's bloody it.
up.
It is rude. So I'm just gonna tweet on the Twitter. Tweet to say we're live. We are live, not alive. We are alive, but also we are live. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, is that your rar? Right now.
He's so raw.
He's so yes. Right, okay. So, because we can't get hold of Miss Victoria. Oh, hello, Zebra. How are you? We'll just get crack-a-lacking. So, first things first, I'm the realist.
Are you? I'm pretty sure I'm the realist. We've established I'm not an AI. That must mean I'm the most real.
The most real of the realist people. What did you rate it?
I rated it 5 stars.
Oh my god, I rated it 5 stars too.
Oh my god.
This is amazing.
So it was already a 5 stars, but it was still a 5 stars. Rating did not change.
Rating did not change. Fantabidozy. Hello. People in the comments, if you can let us know what you rated it. And I don't know why this is just flagged in my brain. Maybe because we're live. I think I've booked 2 live shows next week on the same day, but great. Anyway, right, okay, I've just got a message. Rated 5 stars, as you should. Like, this is the second Schwab series I've rated all 5 stars. First one was obviously Dark Shade of Magic. And then there's this one. And I've now fully completed, well, this is a brand new series that I've completed. Even though it's only 2 books, but we're going to skip over that bit. But I tabbed lots of things. So many tabs. 3.5, 4. Oh no! Cleo! Why did you rate it 4 stars? I don't know. I would like to know your thoughts and feelings and ponderances, please, my dear. But we are going to start at the beginning, obviously, because that's where you start with the reviews.
We're not just jump about wherever we feel like it.
Well, I mean, when you don't formulate your thoughts properly, like most of the time, that would be the case. But we start off with in prosperity. Oh, I think I need to read twice to get the full effect because I wasn't keen to add some my first and then looked at my second. Maybe might be a Schwab Andy thing.
I will say I was like humming and hawing. I was like, is this still a 5 stars? I think it is. And I was like, yes, it is. And then I went to Goodreads to mark it as 5 stars. And my review was a very emphatic 5 stars last time. So I found it like really interesting that I was like, I think it's a 5 stars. We'll go with 5. Whereas before I was like, this is a masterpiece. It's like, oh.
We have a daughter!
Please.
Hello.
Well, I hate my body sometimes, but there we go. It's fine.
Hey, if you needed it, you needed it. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just didn't sleep last night. I think I was lucky if I got like 90 minutes sleep. And I literally had to get up at 8:30 this morning, let the builders in. And then I took my niece and nephew out for breakfast and to the cinema for her birthday, which is just after they go back to school. So I got home at like 3. And then I made it to like the back of 5, but I was falling asleep and I was like, I'm not going to make it through Schwab if I don't have a nap. So I set 4 alarms and woke up at 8:30. And I was like, yeah, this is fine. This is fine. Like, my alarm's just going off. I've got time. And then I looked and I was like, no, I've slept through all of these. I had to like turn off like math because I do math online to make myself like wake up. And I was like, I'm not awake enough for all of these. I need to get to my like messages, which I couldn't because of the.
Oh, bless you.
Also, I had a message from like in one of the group chats from Andy being like, I think Tori is asleep, but she forgets that my phone's on silent. Like, tagging me doesn't do anything.
Bless you.
Oh no.
Hello, I've not read the book, but just want to see all of the faces. Oh, you're a cutie.
Nice.
Nailed it.
Shut up.
Tori, what did you rate it?
Good.
Are we surprised?
I rated the first one 4.5. So I went up.
I feel like the 2 books have very, very, very different vibes.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
So we start off with, in Prosperity, Kate Harker is no longer Kate Harker. She's Kate Gallagher to her friends. And they are Teo, B, Kate and Riley. What do we think? Did we like them?
First of all, how fucking cute was it that she was like, oh, I need to change my name. I might as well just use Gallagher. Simp.
Yep. I mean, obviously, she was no longer in Verity. They would never know her. Honestly. God.
She was like, oh, I definitely need to, like, use August's fake surname. But it doesn't mean anything. There's no feelings. Don't look at me.
No feelings whatsoever. And I don't mention, she doesn't mention quite early on that she's, like, thinking about what is he doing now? Not at all. She wasn't thinking about August.
She doesn't even like
him. She doesn't like him. So, what did we think of the gang that she had in Prosperity?
They were so cute. Like, they reminded me of, like, Buffy. You know how, like, Buffy had, like, powers, but, like, all of her nerds around her that didn't really know what they were doing and really weren't really equipped to fight vampires, but they were trying anyway. And, like, they just kind of, like, you know when, like, you can, you know, that Buffy's, like, pulled them through by the scruff of their neck. And although, like, they're like, yay, we're a team and we're helping, you're kind of like, it would be so much easier for Buffy if you guys just, like, stayed home.
Yeah.
Like,
right there. Literally getting at this point.
Like, I feel like that was what, like, they were to start with. Like, they were just like that overeager puppy of, we found out about this thing and we really want to help. And she was like, you are helping. Like, you
stay with your computers, guys.
You do this. Like,
she'd heard about the warden. She heard about the wardens and she thought they were this big organisation that was, like, gonna, you know, help her fight. And then she realised it was just this bunch of nerdy kids. Just... Yep. Just in there.
Without even the adult supervision that Buffy had with Giles. Like, just...
brought the adult supervision with her after. She was like, here's the adult supervision.
Hi, guys. I'm here.
One thing I'm a little bit sad about is that we didn't get more of them after the beginning. Because I know that she kept saying, like she mentioned a few times during the book that, you know, she did think about them. And when she was thinking about, like, when she does that thing, like, where are you? she was like back there with Riley and just relaxing and stuff. I did kind of when they were all introduced, I was hoping that they would come and help her, like follow her, like, do you know what I mean?
They're quite forgettable. Like, you remember them as a group, but like individual characters, the only one I really think of being like a formed character is Riley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's only because like he was doing I'm a grown up and I will bring you food and make sure that you're okay, this kind of stuff. And then everyone else
She
is kind
helped
of
when she held the thing for him, didn't she? And he was
Yeah.
like, "Put it down. What are you doing?"
yeah.
But I did like the little names, like, oh, there was a Liam as well. I forgot about that because Liam is very like mentioned quite. Can't speak. He's not mentioned that much. So I love the names like riled up, like Liam on me and Biatch and Tell how much to handle. Like I loved the little names of them, which is why I was like hoping to get more of them
Yeah.
because it feels like the way this shop set up this first chapter with her, and this gang. I was like, I felt like they were going to be more involved because it's like, why would you introduce these people? Why would you not just say she'd formed some kind of connection in Prosperity and then like move back? I don't understand why she had to give them at least give Riley sort of like this caring personality towards Kate, and it was a bit strange. But I wish we'd gotten the wardens more fleshed out or more present. It just seemed like a waste. It did a little bit. But when you say they're forgettable, it is very easy to forget about them because of everything else that goes on after this.
Yeah. Like they're there and then they're not and you move on.
Yeah, because we then see she comes into contact with this monster that's like a shadow and that she gets infected by. Hi. No worries. So I had absolutely no idea what kind of monster that was when we first came across it. For a small part of time, I thought it was all in her head. I thought she'd just gone a bit,
Gone loopy.
gone a bit crazy. And I didn't realise till later on because I went back the sections. I don't know if you both read it physically as well. You did, didn't you? Like this bit.
No.
I didn't realise till later on that this is a monster.
Yeah.
Like
kind of like half the monster, half Kate, isn't it? It's like he's kind of in that state.
I didn't because I wouldn't I did go back and sort of like question mark it, but I liked how you did get that sort of perspective, but it was very not. It was I can't even speak in normal sentences. It was very broken. Like the monster wasn't a fully fleshed thing, was it? Because it was just all shadows.
No, it was still formed.
Yeah, and it was kind of like split between Kate and it. So the way that she wrote it as well kind of made sense to how it was, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
I guess like my favorite thing about the beginning is getting a better look at the rest of the world, because when she goes back to Verity, they're like, oh, there's no monsters in Prosperity, and she's like, no, there is. I find it like really interesting that the monster phenomenon is not centered on V City. And I remember in the first book we were talking about it in the first live show, because we were saying that somebody said, oh, there's only monsters in Verity, and I said something about, no, I think that's why they keep the cities as small as possible, because from there, and Prosperity has obviously just gone over that kind of threshold where now the monsters are coming through. But what I found really interesting is that they're totally different monsters.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool, because you kind of think like, oh, right, there's 3 types of monsters. And then you're like, wait, what? And it's almost like different breeding grounds, different settings, I guess. The way act has bled into the world differently in like that area.
It's like, well, the space in between prosperity and verity is the waste, isn't it? Because there's like nothing supposed to be there. So they've got this big gap between the two places. So no, technically nothing is supposed to be there. But that's where things go to like die, basically.
It's really interesting. I really like the way it's kind of it's built, because I mean, if there was another book in this world, you could go to a completely different city and there'd probably be different monsters. Maybe things in prosperity are like a lot worse. There's still a lot of cleanup to do. And, like, there's just it's really I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Like, kind of thinking, how did the different monsters come about? Because we know how our monsters came about.
Yeah.
We don't know how it all kind of started in prosperity, and I just find it really interesting.
And I like how they were trying to just sort of like simplify the names.
As we say, I was literally always
What?
saying, I like how
what?
Yeah, who
I
came up
liked
with
how
those?
the names were very like, this is what it does, this is what we're calling it.
Yeah. Hence the Chaos Eater, which we meet later. But then the next chapter we come to after the whole monster incident is August. Sad boy August, who's vastly changed from the last time we met him. And I mean, I love how it's written, but I hate that he feels this way. And it was just like total sad boy the whole time. And we meet Annie, Harris, Rez, and Jackson briefly. We don't really see much of him after that, but he has his own group of people. And I feel like it's sort of, they're both separated, but they both found a group of people to work with individually for each other. But obviously we focus more because we're based in Verity more. We focus more on August and his little FTF group.
Who I love.
I love the FTF group.
I think that they're more fleshed out, although I still would have liked more of them. But I liked them as a group, and I felt like they really had August back. Like, even when he's pushing them away, they're like, fuck off, we're coming with you.
Yeah, whatever.
Nice
you
try.
go do this, I need to go do that. Yeah, sure. Yeah, no. No. Am I though? Like, am I?
How
about no?
The only thing I would change is getting rid of Alpha as the call sign, because it made me cringe. I wish that they had done any other call sign.
I mean, I get it, because like from watching military stuff, like Alpha is normally like the person that leads it. So from
but
that
nobody
point
else
of view,
had a call sign like it. So it was just like, and then if anybody was going to be Alpha, you think that would be Henry.
Sorrow was Omega, wasn't she?
So, say again?
Sorrow was Omega, wasn't she? Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know.
Somebody was Omega.
Then it makes it even worse. Because the only two that they've used are Alpha and Omega.
But they were
something else.
Because they were the Sunai, weren't they? So
yeah,
they like separated them from everybody else. But
then Ilsa should have had one as well.
Yeah,
true. But oh my god, we'll come to Ilsa in a minute and just that's
the only thing I wish I could change. I wish I could go back in time, and as Victoria Shaw was writing this, it's be like, listen, trust me, change the call signs. Believe me when I say it's a bit cringy.
I mean, if that's all you want to change, we're doing good.
Yeah.
So we find out
parts of it so I don't get broken, but that would be the only bits that would change for writing.
Yes, that is.
Yeah, I'm so with you on the brokenness.
So, how do we feel about? Obviously, we're slowly introduced to like the new August and how he's changed, and as the book goes along, you find out sort of like he's cut himself off from, and he tries to stop himself feeling as human, and he's got Leo in his head that's making him do these more aggressive.
I don't like it.
more aggressive ways of taking people's souls from them. Like,
See, I'm so torn because part of me thinks it's absolutely genius. I love it. I think it's brilliant. I think it gives us a whole new take on his character. It shows how hard the time in between the two books has been and how much he's had to change to kind of like rise to the occasion, how much Leo being in his head has affected him. You know, he's trying to be a soldier, he's trying to be a leader, he's trying to support his dad, and I love that.
oh, Henry.
But the other part of me, who becomes far too emotionally invested in her characters, no, I want them to be happy, and I don't like it. So I'm very torn.
Yeah,
I
mean,
am pretty much exactly the same. Like, I think development of it is phenomenal. Like, never in a million years would I have considered having the internal monologue. Like, everybody, well, not everyone has one, but like, I can imagine him after what he's gone through would have that monologue of his own anyway. But the fact that it becomes Leo, who is so
worst person for it to
drastically
be.
so drastically different in the first place. Add in the fact that obviously Ilsa's out for the count pretty much, so he has to step up and help get over. He has no. It's like being catapulted. Like, he has no ability to say, "Sorry, Dad, I don't really want to come and help you today." Like, he just doesn't have that ability. Like,
No.
there's no Callum Harker. There's monsters all over the city. His best friend, girlfriend, whoever she could have been, has disappeared. Like, he's got a city in ruins that he doesn't want to go to ruins. So he has to step up, and he's got his fucking brother in his head. Like, dude.
Imagine if he turned up to the Symphony Hall one day and went, "I don't want to reap souls today."
Why can't you do it?
I'm not hungry. Go away.
Sorry's turn. I did it yesterday.
You know
But
what I
the
mean?
fact
Like,
that it was saying his hunger's changed, and obviously if he reaps his soul in an aggressive way, he feels more hungry because of it. And obviously
but him
the
saying
whole
that he can't remember what it was like to be hungry, I was like, oh my.
yeah, because he
It's like,
starts filling up too much on the souls, don't he? Because of the way
yeah.
that he's doing it. It's and then he obviously feels horrible for it.
It makes
And-
so much sense though, because if you were at war and one side of the city fell and you knew exactly the sort of people, you had a way of filtering out all the bad people, you would 100% do it. So if
Oh,
you could filter
100%.
anybody that like didn't matter, you would definitely do it. So it makes so much sense, and I think it's so logical. And I
but
think
it brings a question up because
hard about it. Yeah,
it brings a question up because it is referenced in here as well. It's like, what if it was a mistake? What if that person has done something that is deemed bad, like Kate accidentally killing that guy in self-defense? It turned her so red because she'd done a bad thing, but it was in self-defense because he was going to kill her if she didn't kill him. But she's not a bad person. But had it been down to Sorrow, Sorrow would have reaped her soul and it'd been done. And in Sorrow's mind, in their mind, it was like black and white, good and bad. You've done a bad thing, you deserve to have your soul reaped. It's penance, it's whatever. But it's, again, the human side of August is saying, like, what if this person isn't a bad person? What it's a case of like wrong place, wrong time. You know, some self-defense. They don't know the circumstances surrounding the bad thing that they did. They don't even know all the time what the bad thing was that they did. Just that the soul is red and it needs to get reaped. So you can tell that August struggles with that as well. That, you know, when they genuinely have done something really bad, and you know. They're a criminal or whatever, and they have no remorse for what they've done. Obviously, he doesn't like doing it, but he'll do it. But the situation with the guy whose soul was red and his partner, his girlfriend or whatever, was with him, and he just went over and wife reaped his soul. Like that bit was horrible. I mean, I know that was a bit further on, but
my favorite narrative threads through the whole book is this question of black and white like red and white. Do you know what I mean? Like with the souls, and it's like this murky grey area that is not in a Sunai's nature to understand, and the way that it kind of gets brought throughout the book. There's a very big difference between the Callum and the Kate Harkers of the world, because Callum Harker was a bad person. He purposely made monsters. He had a tyrannical rule. He was a criminal before the whole thing happened. Do you know what I mean? Like, he killed many people. The only person that Kate killed was because, like you said, she thought it was him or her. So she thought she was fighting to survive. If I remember rightly, she thought he was going for a gun, and then he wasn't. But she thought he was, and they were in a she thought that they were in like a die or do or die kind of situation.
Yeah.
And that's a very different situation. But both those souls would be red, which is why I was like, loved the fact that August was sticking up for her and being like, she's not a bad person. You could see that he was saying it. And then slowly throughout the book, Sorrow starts to question it. And the end of it, I know that I'm jumping forward a bit, but by the end of it, when the souls are kind of like mixed red and white, and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do now. It's like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
no,
that's the whole point.
And it was just, I just thought it was so well done. Like the way that the question was asked, the way you follow it through, and then that kind of moment at the end, I thought was brilliant.
And I think it goes to show that, like, the way that I don't know who raised Sorrow before they were part of the FTF, because it didn't really go into the Sorrow backstory. But
they were just made. They were made after Leo died, and then they joined Henry straight away.
No, it was the group of suicide bombers. Wasn't it? It was like.
Do you know, I actually wrote this down as well. I wrote how they were made, but I've just totally. Oh yeah, made for a massacre.
Yeah, it was like a self-done massacre to get rid of people, so that's why they said that.
Oh, wait, there, yeah. Because
what page is it?
66.
Oh, I opened my book at 65.
If a suicide mission could ever be called a success, a fair number of monsters were killed, along with 29 humans. A stretch of the North City underground collapsed, and the self-named Sorrow was the only thing that emerged from the wreckage.
Yeah, but it was after Callum had died. They didn't exist before.
Callum and Leo had passed away by that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like,
sorry, I thought you meant it was their death that resulted in Sorrow.
Oh no, I meant that it was after Callum died. So like Leo has been and gone before Sorrow even.
Sorry, I picked that up. I was like, no, that is not. That wasn't peaceful. That wasn't the thing that took.
That's not enough.
That wasn't it.
No, but it's like with Ilsa and August, they both have like feelings, but they were sort of raised by Henry, or like looked after by Henry, and then you have obviously Leo, who was just an ass, but you've got Sorrow, who, and I think part of the reason why Ilsa and August are the way that they are from like the offset is because they've had Henry as an influence. They've had a human influence, whereas Sorrow would have just been created the way that they were created, and they didn't have the human influence of Henry, which is why I think it takes them so long to come to terms with, like, the way that August is with, Kate, and how he protects her and things like that. But it's interesting to see that, like, if August and Ilsa hadn't had the influence of Henry and Emily, how they could have turned out.
Yeah.
But it goes to show that, like, just because you are a monster doesn't mean that you have to act like one, basically.
Yeah.
And I like that conversation that they have throughout. And obviously it comes to a resolution at the end. Like, there is, generally speaking, Alice is an exception, because Alice is a whole other kettle of fish. But generally, humans and monsters can both be, like, good and evil, and, like, just generally. But when we find out that Henry has been sick.
Yeah.
I literally wrote so many times, is he going to die? When's he going to die? Why is he coughing? What's wrong with him? Like, why is he consistently mentioning how ill Henry is all the time? I don't like it.
It's to lull you. You're preparing yourself for Henry's death. And
Yes.
that's not the best you get. Very clever, Victoria Schwab. We see you. Yeah. Oh yeah, Henry's definitely gonna die, guys. Prepare yourselves. Bam! And then another bam.
I don't trust my heart with Schwab now.
like,
I mean, I didn't really trust it a few books ago, but you know.
but we also, when we start finding out Henry's sick, we meet this very seemingly minor character called Colin, who knows Freddie from when he was Freddie, but August from when he was Freddie, and not when.
It's cool that he's in it because obviously he was the one that was like befriending him and showing him all around in the first book, and now he's like, I'm gonna be a soldier. I'm like, oh, you're a child.
That was just so adorable. The way that he was just so excited to be there, and he was like, my name's not Freddie, and he's like, nah, it's alright. I call you Freddie anyway.
I'm gonna be like you. I'm gonna be like you. Now I know who you are. I'm gonna be like you. I'm gonna come and be with you. No, mate. No, you're not. Right. We need to stop this. Oh.
But I think he was a bit of like comic relief that and just obviously we've had a bit of, Kate, what happened to Kate, August like torturing himself, and the way that August has changed, which obviously makes us sad. And then we find out Henry's sick, and then Colin comes along and he's just like, hey, Freddie. I like the fact that you still got these characters. I think Teo was a bit of a joker in the Wardens group. It's like you've got a character that sort of sometimes inappropriately, because it's not really the time to be joking around when you're at war. But it's just like, yeah, it's cool. I'm.
Thing is, if that's your everyday life, you need to have a joke, man.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise, I mean, I know it is literally doom and gloom and fighting because that's what you've got, but like, you need a little bit of fun in there somewhere. Especially if you're fighting all these monsters that you don't know about or you think you've managed, like the Malkai. No thanks. You can keep them.
The Corsair was so creepy, the way that they just like the little voice, and they just like repeat things, don't they? And they remind me of like, like a Schmeagle, like a little creepy little sidekick who sits in the corner of like, I had to help you, master. Do you know that kind of character? And they just sit there like in the
just waiting.
Hearing that when I listened to the audio, it just sounded so creepy, and I didn't. I was like,
I didn't like that.
I would not want to see those ones. I would not want to be around those ones. Like, at least you know what you're getting with Malachi. Whereas I would be constantly concerned about how unhinged the Corsair were, because they just. I mean, I expect
because I see the Corsair as like a wild animal, so like stay out of their territory and you'll probably be fine. Like if you stay out of the dark, don't go out at night, follow the rules, you're probably going to be okay. Malachi is sneaky. They're sly. They're more human. They can get to you more.
They're going to plan how to get you out of the dark.
Yeah.
Or like into the dark, like out of the light.
Yeah. Of course, I am waiting for you to come to them. Malachi will make you come to them. That's more scary.
Speaking of Malachi, we definitely had it confirmed. Sloan is alive and kicking, and just chumming around with the monster that came to fruition from what Kate did in the who took on the name of her mother. So we see more of these two beautiful, wonderful monsters.
Sure, if that's how we're describing them.
What did we think of like the characterization of both of them? I know we hate them as actual beings because evil, but like, how do you
Jen's
think?
perfect.
I think her writing, like Schwab's writing, is just so. I don't know if lyrical and like descriptive's the right thing, but like the way that she can make you love one character and within a few lines absolutely hate the character they're interacting with when nothing, like, it's lines, like it shouldn't be able to make you feel that much that quickly, but you genuinely, I was getting like shivers when they were like trying to like set the traps, and like when the two of them were talking together like trying to figure out what was going on. I was like,
He had no respect for her. Like, she was his prey, and he's just like, I'm keeping her around, but I wish I could kill her, sort of thing. He's like, and I like the fact that these villains have no redeemable qualities. There's no redemption arc for
yeah,
them. There's no,
like
there's no time within this book where you're like, no, I feel sorry for you, which I really don't like when some authors do that. It's like, if you've got a villain, I want them to be a villain, and I want them to own it. Like, and both of these own their villainous, disgusting behavior, and they are 100% like on the opposite side of good. There's
like
nothing about them that is good, which makes it easier for you to root for the people that want to like get them, and, like, get rid of them.
there is no redeeming the fact that he was getting like Kate lookalikes.
Oh, that was creepy. It it's kind of stalkerish as well, isn't it? The way that he's set out to pick up these girls that looked like her just so he could feed off them, and like, and just how totally okay
Twisted.
he was with doing that. And then Alice was just like, oh well, and they were fighting. They were sort of like arguing and discussing like who was gonna kill her, and like, save some for me. And it's just so like, is this a conversation I'm reading right now?
Yeah,
It's just, I want to kill her. No, I want to kill her.
she's mine, fuck
Normally,
off.
I don't like villains that their only agenda is to take over the world. Like their own. I just normally a villain that's just like, why are you doing this for power? I'm like, boring. That's boring. I want an actual agenda. But with these guys, it works because of what they are. Like if they were humans, and like, so in a way, like I'm almost like Callum was a little bit boring because he just wanted to like rule V City because he wanted to rule. But with the Malachi, it makes more sense because it kind of fits their nature because of what they are.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I get that. But I get what you mean about that, but I kind of like the fact that Callum had no redeeming qualities. Again, he was just a bad human.
it's not a redeeming quality. I just like them to have something else, like that they're not just doing this. Why are you doing it? Oh, just to rule. But why? I like to just have a little bit more in the background, like
Right,
what.
okay, yeah, I get what you mean.
Just so in a way, like Callum is really just doing it because he wants power, which is fine. It's a fine motive, but I like to have a villain with a real motive. But with the Malachi, it works because their motive is because this is my nature. This is what I do. This is
Yeah.
what I was literally born to do.
I was created on the back of something violent.
Like, that is why I'm here.
I'm a murder bot.
On the back of Sloane being a murder bot, the engineers and basically him keeping the three as pets. I don't know how I managed it. That's twice I've opened the book at the right point. Don't know how I managed it because last month I could not open this book at the right point to save my life. But like page 207 is when he'd like come back to the engineers at the table. It was like a length of chain ran from their ankles to the table legs, which were
Oh
bolted to
yeah,
the
when
floor.
he picks them off,
Yeah,
and then
and
he
like
kills
he's trying
one.
to get into the Flynn fortress, and
Yeah.
they're like saying it isn't possible. And he'd like got the little cubes of like explosives.
Yeah. But that's
And
just
literally
that's
within
just what
2
he does.
pages, he went from 3 pets, as he called them, to 2, just because they'd said
It can't be done.
it can't be done.
Again, it just shows he's ruthless. Like I said, it's his nature. He was created by Callum. He was treated like a slave and a pet by Callum. So he's like, do you know what? Fuck it. He's dead. I'm the big wig now, so I can do what I want. I'm gonna just let my nature run riot, and I want what I want, and I'll get it whatever way possible. And again, he has no qualms about killing people, which in a way
He
I hate,
creeped
but in a
me.
way yeah.
He creeped me out.
In a way, I don't even think they're really doing it for power. They're just doing it because they're like,
Because
if we do that, we get to kill all those people.
yeah,
We drink all their blood. Awesome. That's what
Yeah.
we
We
want.
get to eat food. We get to
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
have to
Like,
worry
if
about where the
someone
next meal is coming
was
from.
human and took over V City, they'd be like, okay, well, don't really want this city anymore. We'll leave it. We'll go find, because it's just hunting. That's all it
Yeah.
is. Maybe that's why I like him. He's not really about. I don't know.
But when we go back to page 113 and we start seeing more of the characters, the first time I knew that something was going to happen to Rez, this is the first time I actually properly cried. The other bits that I thought were like sad moments that were just like mostly about August and how he's changed. But this is a part where it's like, as when he said Rez was his second and had been since the squad was formed, and then she followed him on his next little adventure. I knew something was going to happen to her, because I just, even though I didn't want anything to happen to her, Squab isn't the kind of person to let everyone come out of it totally unscathed. And we had too many people that were introduced near the beginning of the book for one of them not to have something bad happen. Do you know what I mean? So at the beginning, obviously, we introduced like 5 or 6 of Kate's new friends, and then 5 or 6 of August's team. And you can't introduce that many characters, especially when they're all like sort of like certain, like minor characters, without something bad happening to somebody. But then as soon as it said like Rez followed him in, like Rez was his second, she was loyal, and she was this, and it's like, you picked this person out for a reason, and I don't like it.
I loved Rez. I loved
Rez is a
what I loved
badass.
about the inclusion of Rez and Colin was they were another way to show how things had changed, because obviously we knew Colin as the rich boy from the academy who had all this shit together and was like maybe going to be like a lawyer or a politician or something, and now he's like fighting on the south side. Into a soldier. And then with Rez, it was showing how the South had changed, because she left the North and had risen quite quickly up to being one of the in like the top group. So it just showed kind of like how much the South needed more people, and then
Yeah.
how North had changed, because even like the really privileged people were getting the fuck out of there. So I thought those two characters really demonstrated the changes really well. I don't know
Yeah.
what
And the fact that they were trying their best to not have a north and south divide, even though, you know, some of the higher up council, they were sat there making the decisions but not actually getting involved in the action, deciding what people could do but not actually going on the ground and being a footman or foot soldier or whatever.
Imagine what sort of government or authorizing body would do such a thing.
Those people were very much still about the north and south, and I loved how, again, we're jumping around, but when Kate was very much like, you can't keep thinking of north and south, like you've got to sort it out and think about attacking your enemy and like what they want out of this sort of thing. I love how like they were trying to come together as like a whole, to fight the monsters that were trying to destroy everything they built. But when that happened to Rez, I thought that August was gonna snap.
Yeah.
Because it was like what that on top of everything else that has been going on with him, and he's struggling to do his job, and is struggling with the fact that he's having to be this alpha that he didn't really want to be, and then someone he's really close to and clearly cares about follows him into a place where he doesn't really want to be going because he doesn't really want the freaking job, and then dies. I thought that was going to be the time that he was going to snap.
Yeah. Rez is probably the closest thing he's ever had to like a best friend.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
You could tell from the way they were speaking to each other, the dynamic. It wasn't just like leader and second in command. They were very much friends.
Yeah.
And I think you could tell that from the way that he was like trying to save her and crying for her and stuff like that. Like that was horrible.
That was awful. That's
the
baby.
worst bit about that whole bit for me was that he couldn't save her. He killed everyone. He held her in his arms while she died. And then when Emily was like, oh, come home, he was like, I can't. And he had to sit there next to her, waiting for all the monsters that were going to be born from the murders to come out so that he could put them down. So it wasn't even like he could just go.
Grief.
He had to sit there in the room. And then that moment when he walks back into the compound and he hasn't looked
covered
at himself,
in blood,
then he can see what he looks like on everyone else's faces because he's literally just like drenched in Malachi and her blood, and everything is just awful. And I was just like, this is horrible.
That was this scene where he was like, oh look, Colin, are you sure you can deal with me? Bye, mate.
Yeah.
Like, be safe over there. You don't want to come to me. Like,
also that bit, there was a moment in that section where I was like, okay, because Henry started to come towards him and he was like, and just like dismissed him. I'm like, that is not just your father. That's the lead of everything on this side. And you're just like, not now.
Yeah. Did Henry not say something like, your next movement is really important. You need to let the army see you or something. And the next thing they saw was him drenched. Yeah. And I was like, oh, babe, like, I just want to hug you.
I mean, on the one hand, I can understand how Henry wants things to go. Obviously, he's sick. He's saying that the medics aren't going to help him or whatever. And we're all thinking at this point, everyone who knows, even though it's not been outright said, everyone thinks he's going to die. Like, you know. So he's preparing August to like be the leader, even though August again clearly doesn't want it. But I feel like sometimes
he's like 4.
Yeah. But I feel like sometimes you could tell that he sort of struggles a little bit. He wants to be a father, but then he can't be like, oh, come here and I'll give you a hug in front of all the rest of the soldiers, because it will be seen as preferential treatment. And, you know, there's a whole dynamic that he's got to think of there. So I do feel sorry for all of them. Like, but mostly those two, because you could tell that behind closed doors, like they've had a bond, like and he thinks of him as his son.
Yeah.
But then he's having to get him to do these horrible things that he knows August doesn't like. Because he's the leader of this rebellion to try and like save Verity from the monsters. So he's
sorry.
just no. I was just saying, he must have a lot on his shoulders as well as like not showing everyone how sick he really feels.
Yeah. I think it's important to remember as well that Henry never actually set out to be a leader. It just kind of happened. But he's still trying to figure everything out. And he doesn't necessarily always know which way is best. He's just trying to figure it out as he goes. So although they're all rallied behind him, you know, he's obviously put the council in place because he's like, you know, things are really changing and I'm dying. So let's have a council. That seems like a legit way to go. And then the council are basically useless because they're too busy fighting amongst themselves to actually do anything. So when you kind of see him,
officials fighting between themselves
I
in a
know.
washroom away from the peasants.
So fantasy. This would never happen in real life.
As I would say, I thought we were talking about this. We could be talking about 75 other books that I've read right now.
We're talking about English politics.
And So they're too busy like fighting amongst themselves to really do anything. So then he's like, I'm not a movement, but if I have to be to get things done, I'll do it. And I just found, I think like he doesn't really, bless him, he doesn't really know what he's doing.
No.
He's a surgeon.
He's
Like,
trained.
He's
he's a surgeon. He's doing
He's
his
trained to
best.
save lives. That's all he doesn't really know, but he's really trying, and I think he does like a pretty good job. You know,
I think
he
because
brings monsters in and raises them to be good. Leo, but I mean, I don't think anybody had a helping hell's chance of sorting that guy out. He was
no.
Leo was just
the whole thing. But, you know, he's taken them in. He's built the FTF. He's kept people alive. He's kept like as a functioning city. All right, it might not be like as good as North City was, but
North City wasn't all that great.
It was pretty damn quick. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then once it did, those people needed somewhere to go, and Henry was the only one willing to take them in. And I think it shows a lot about his character that he was willing to say, yeah, I know you're from the other side, you paid money to literally stay with my opponent, but absolutely come in as long as you haven't killed anyone. And I feel like that's a pretty low bar.
That's my fair thing.
Do you know what my funniest thought about that whole process was? You can come in as long as your soul is white, but once you're here, you are joining an army where you have to probably kill something.
But it doesn't count if you kill monsters.
No, I know, but like in general, it was like the people that had like the experience of killing things. No, you're gonna die. The people that don't have any experience, well, I mean, it might not be experience because they could have killed monsters and they'd still be
Let's
white.
have a look at your
like,
CV.
in that, like, in the comparison of white versus red and having some form of experience versus not, I hadn't thought about it until I think it was the second like snapshot of him doing his whole I will like play for you and like we'll see who stays white and who goes red and that, and it was the mum with the little girl, and then I was like, or was it the one of the dad?
That was,
I think it was the mum, and I was like, oh shit,
that's the time when she was like, did she say that she didn't mean to?
No, she meant to.
She meant to. He didn't.
Yeah,
he hadn't meant to.
Like, and then his wife emptied the gun into August's chest, and he was like, "You're lucky I'm a monster." I was like, "Damn!" Or like, "You're lucky I'm not human." I was like, "Damn."
I mean, that's the first time he's truly acknowledged that he's not human. Because although he's like, I don't want to be a monster, he's never actually. He doesn't actually come out and say, like, you know, I'm a monster, sort of thing. Like, he doesn't own it. And that's the only time he's really owned the fact that he's a monster. I'm like, thank fuck for you.
Because it saved his life, yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, my life has been saved. But we do get a glimpse now and again, when we follow Kate, of, obviously she comes back into August's life when sorrow catches her. And then she shouts, and he's pick a hearing, and he's there. But there's still the back and forth where I thought that there might have been a point where she went back to Riley and the gang because they were leaving her messages and stuff, weren't they?
She left her phone behind though, so she didn't get them after she left her phone.
Yeah, she turned her phone on, didn't she? She got all these messages.
Yeah.
I never doubted she was going straight to Berry. I never thought that she would turn around.
I thought she might either turn back, or when she'd got there and obviously she'd read she was going to contact them again. I thought that they were going to come for her and help her once they. I was hoping that might be the case because like two tribes coming together, like the separate lives that they've had.
Together.
When they had these separate lives for this time and they'd formed these bonds with other people, I thought it was going to be like, but this was me hoping that there was going to be like the extra reinforcements coming in and we're going to fight to the finish and be like, yay. We'll come to that bit in a bit, but I'm trying to put that down.
The problem is that Verity is totally locked down. So the only reason that she managed to even get in is because she pulled a gun and was like, "I'm Kate Harker, bitch, let me in." Like, I don't think any of
badass.
You're keeping things out, mate. I want in. Fuck off. Like, let me
That
in
was
now.
like badass, and is like she pulled a gun on him.
Why did you let her in? She had a gun. She said her name was Kate Harker. I'm afraid.
But again, when Kate is brought into the compound, reluctantly by Sorrow, because again, Sorrow's very much, she's got a red aura, so like she needs to be reaped. Like the fact that August vouches for her, but she's still treated, because I mean, I know that she wasn't the nicest person before she went away, and people know her for being a bit of a bitch, but the fact that people hated her because of who her father was really fucked me off. Like the prejudice against her, because even if people didn't know her personally, they were like, "Your dad was Callum Harker." Yeah, just because someone's dad's a fucking killer, don't mean that they're gonna be. Like, they were just very judgy, weren't they? Like, so mean to her. But I loved that, like, some people were nice to her. Like, gave her the benefit of the doubt. I can't remember the name of the person that did it.
Was it Monet?
Yeah.
Obviously, Colin tried, but he was very afraid.
He
was like, "Yes, I will sit with you. I will be your friend. Where you going? Don't go there. No, I'm going." Yeah. Oh, okay, bye. Because I'm just scared.
You're not supposed to go that way, but okay, I'm just gonna leave you to that.
Okay, good luck.
Hi.
Anybody asked, you incapacitated me somehow. I have no idea.
And yeah, I've just written like, him hearing Leo's voice. Like, do you think that it was just? This is gonna sound weird. Do you think it was just in his head that he was like, "This is what Leo would think. This is what Leo would think," or do you think because of the way that he reaped Leo, he was actually part of his soul was still there talking to him? And
I think
the latter.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it never had been done before.
No.
It never had been. And then I don't think it was ever expected to happen. Like, because they don't really reap other monsters either. It makes them ill. So I think like the way that those, like the Corsair and the Malachi would affect them, I think this is how, if you reap a Sunai soul, this is what happens. It ain't going.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, but then obviously, my brain doesn't always function as a normal person's would, so I didn't know whether it was just in my head that I was reading it that way, or whether you felt the same. So
yeah,
I mean, your brain picked up that the prose wasn't Kate, which I didn't do.
Also, if any
those bits.
Oh right.
I didn't think that was someone else.
Also, if anybody in this whole book wasn't going to let death stop them from tormenting someone, it's going to be Leo.
Yeah.
He's like, I may be dead, but I'm still going to judge you inside your own head. What a dick.
I'll be there forever, brother.
Think you've escaped me? No. I'm going to be here second guessing your every movement for the rest of time.
And then obviously the Kate and August, I forgot how far in the book this was, when Kate and August finally not get together, but meet up, and he's having to convince Sorrow that she's a nice person, and then she has the conversation with no, he feels kind of conflicted at the moment, obviously, because he's got his feelings for Kate. Obviously, we know this. He's got Leo in his head, and then he's got Sorrow chiding him, saying, "Oh, she's a sinner. She's a sinner." Did you ever think that he would turn against her, or did you always trust that he would be on her side?
I think that before she came, when she was making her way, I was like, I'm not sure how. I'm trying to think of like the first time, and I think I was like, I'm not sure how this is going to go down. I'm not sure how it's going to go down. But as soon as he like came and vouched for her, and then spoke to her like he used to, I was like, this is the first time we've seen a glimpse of the old August, and I was like, Kate's going to get through to him. Kate's going to be the one.
Yeah.
So once they were actually together and had started talking, I was like, I think this is going to be okay. I think she's going to get through to him.
You muted, Tora. Flip your thing up. Yeah.
Now?
Yeah. I saw your lips
Weird.
moving and I was like, I can't hear you.
Sorry. I was going to say, yeah, the fact that she basically just said his name and he dropped, I don't know obviously how much he dropped, but like he instantly made sure that he got there before Sorrow could do anything. And okay, he was still new August with a bit of the old August until they got together, as Jem says. But like, you could instantly tell that if anyone was going to get through, Kate Harker's definite F you to the world was going to be the thing that managed to get through.
Yeah. The fact that she kept pushing as well, but she didn't, like, she didn't push him too hard, but she like, the whole "where are you" thing, I love that that's how she asks, how, like, it's not like, "Are you okay? How are you doing?" It's like, "Where are you?" Like, and he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And that's how the conversation starts, because that's a very Kate thing to do, and she does it with herself. And the fact that she uses that same sort of technique on August, and technique is a wrong word to use, but and the fact that even though he sees the silver in her, and he knows after she's explained that the Chaos Eater, as she's named it, has infected her eye, he still believes that she can fight it, and he still vouches for her, and he still trusts her. And that to me just speaks volumes about how much they really do care about each other, even though they've been apart for so long. They almost immediately, like, start to get back into the old sort of ways of talking to each other. Because when he finds himself slipping, he switches back, doesn't he? Like, it's like if the old August comes back in, and then he's like, he shuts down, and he's like, this is what I have to be. I have to be this way to get through what I need to get through and to lead the people that I need to lead. I have to be this August, because the old August couldn't do what I need to do. And that was heartbreaking to read about. Like,
I think as well with Kate and getting through to him, it's because she doesn't tiptoe around him like maybe some of the others. Like,
yeah,
I genuinely think the only other person that could have got through to him was Ilsa, and she can't because she can't speak. And that moment where he was like, "Oh, for God's sake, Ilsa, just write it down," and she was so hurt. I was like, "You go in there and apologize to her right now."
Yeah,
I was
she's
like,
a fucking
bitch.
gem.
I was like, listen, don't push it, August.
Literally, I was like, bitch, what you doing? But it was the fact that Allegro stopped talking to him.
He was
He was. And then did Allegra not go and talk to Kate though when Kate came in? And I just loved the fact that obviously Sorrow had been trying to say that like she wasn't worthy. Kate, obviously, because of Red. But like the fact that Allegra was like, yeah, okay. Kind of. You're new, but I guess you're okay. Cats, you know, I've got 2 of them.
Really?
But then like, yeah, they're pains in the arse, especially this week. But yeah, Allegro has such a personality for being a cat.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do like that though. I was saying that as a joke, but actually now I've said it, she is a bit like Thor's hammer. Because she only goes to the people that are like decent.
Worthy.
Yeah. I'm worthy of her.
Sorry, August. Right now, who you are, you're not worthy of my attention. But Kate's fine. And you're like, oh, okay.
I love this idea.
Yeah.
That would have been like you could have got some real good people. They might have rooted for the wrong people. They'd be like, Allegra, who do you go to?
Everyone has to queue up and be approached by the same cat. What is your screening process? Behold, this cat. That's how
I'm
the
just gonna
descriptions did it.
I'm just gonna mute myself. I'm gonna run downstairs and get juice. So I'll listen to you guys for 2 minutes, but I just need to go get juice.
But yeah, so at one point I literally put 3 tabs. It was sad. August and Kate were like, pink was Kate. Oh shit, where is it? Pink was Kate, blue was sad, and orange was August. When she's talking about how it feels, because she was like, "Oh gee, thanks, I missed you too," and he was trying to get more information out of her, and then she finally admitted that the monster had got inside. That sounds wrong. Got inside her. You know what I mean? Started infecting her.
Oh, where the monster got in.
The shadow monster.
My eye. Oh, painful.
Oh, when he got angry with her, he was just like, "Answer me!" and like he was shouting at her. And he turned into like military August. I didn't like that bit of it, that side of him at all. And
Most of my blue tabs are just me being. It's not like I cried. They're just, this made me sad because August is not August.
yeah, same. And I did that quite a few times. Like the fact that they were trying to be civil with each other, but because he wasn't being himself and she was pushing him, it's sort of like there was this like void between them, so they couldn't fully just be themselves around each other. And it's you go from that to then him telling her that Ilsa survived, her being like, "Oh my god, yay!" And then he was like, "No, but she can't speak." And then it was like that whole thing was just like a massive fucking roller coaster for everyone. It's like, "Oh my god, yay for you, Ilsa survived," but she has no voice.
It's sad because obviously she's still alive, which is really good, but she can't communicate properly. Because she hasn't really learned how, and she can't help in the way that she would probably want to, which is probably to help August do some of like the reaping and stuff, because she doesn't necessarily, because I know that she hadn't really gone out in that, but I think without Leo there, she would have wanted to support him, but the only way she could do that was by singing, and that was taken away from her. And obviously she would never do what Leo did and resort to doing it through like pain and violence. There's no way.
No,
So,
she hated herself for the fact that she lost control the first time and she went dark and created what she created off the back of it. So she wouldn't like knowingly go into a situation where she would have to like reap someone in that way. It would like that was but the fact that he was like, she's alive, and then Kate was like, that's wonderful, and then he got all sullen and was like, she has no voice, but then Kate was like, but she's alive. Like that's sort of making him realize that, you know, it's great that she is alive.
I want to hurt Sloane every time I remember that she has no vocal cords.
I just don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Like it.
I don't like it. Do you know how many times I thought that in my head when I read this book? And then at the end I was like, fuck, I love that. I was like,
I don't like it is literally all the orange tabs, and there are many of them you can't really see. But all the orange tabs are literally, I don't like it. That's how it's written on my tab sheet.
The next thing was that when he's got so involved in being the alpha, but he's
never going to hear that now without laughing. Thanks, Jim.
He's stopped keeping track of how many days it's been since he's gone dark, which is what he used to pride himself on. Like in book 1, he used to pride himself on the fact that he hadn't gone dark. And he's kind of not something he thinks about anymore, and he's just like the fact that she reminded him
that she'd kept count.
Yeah.
And then I will say though that was like another sign that he was coming back to his old self, or starting finding a way to merge the two sides together was because like she reminded him, and then he started keeping track again and was like, I'll never lose count again. And I thought that was really sweet because he was still doing what he had to do. He was standing, like, we're talking about the end again, but he was standing like on the rooftop thinking, right, we still got a job to do. There's still a city that needs, saving. We don't know how long we've got Henry for. We've still got so much to do. But there was that part of him that was coming through again, which was good to see. I felt like he found a way to be both and be actually what was needed rather than being what he thought everyone needed.
And not only just to be both, but to be both in a way that was actually how he needed to be.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a too far one way or too far the other. Like it was genuinely him, which in the long run is going to be much better for the city. Like they need him. You know what I mean? Like him.
But the fact that
conversation,
the fact that conversation, and when she's like, "What happened to you?" It obviously he's feeling like broken because he tries to go outside, doesn't he? And like, Ilsa's like, "No, you can't. You're not supposed to."
Oh, and then she stopped the lift.
And the way that he goes like, "I need this." That was just, I was like, sad boy.
That's the
blue section for sure.
As I say, I don't know if this is going to come up, and if it is, then you can tell me to shut up and we can skip to it later. But the unspoken friendship between Ilsa and Kate.
Yeah,
I know.
When she like I just loved her like pounding on the elevator, being like, "I need to go there." Okay.
Yeah. It was just like, no one will suspect me because I can't even incriminate myself or say anything. I'm just gonna, oh no, I pressed the button. Oh no. Oh god.
I just love that like Kate then ended up being with Elsa when something happened, and then ended up being in the next meeting when something else happened that she could give information about. Because obviously she knows her dad. Like she has information. If they're, let her be part of the force, she has information that you can fucking
That was her way of doing. That was her way of helping, wasn't it? She was.
Yeah.
She was there. Like,
I love Elsa.
She supported August, and I did like the sort of what you were saying about the relationship between those two, and the fact that she helped when she needed to. Like she did the right thing. Like she could have stopped Kate going where she was going, but she's like, do you know what?
She knew that not just August, but the FTF in general needed Kate, and that's why she was just kind of like, she didn't want August to go, but then she was like, do you know what? He does need it. I'll let him go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a video of this that exact moment, but I'm going to send that video of him going, I'm just going to send that to Kate so that she's on the same page as everyone else. Now, Kate,
give her this information, they'll fill it in.
And she wants to go there. Let me just pop the lift down so that she can come and tell all these bitches to get their shit together.
I feel like Elsa kind of used her like
moving everyone.
Yeah, I feel like she kind of was like, right, I know all this shit, but I can't pass it on because I have no voice. I know Kate is pissed off. If she can tell them, she will tell them. And come and join me, Kate. Come here. Come this way.
that bit in the meeting where she was like, he doesn't care how many people he loses in this game or something. And they're like, it's war, not a game. And she's like, yeah, but it is to him.
Yeah.
Just like, you need to listen to her because if anybody knows the person you're up against, it's her. She literally watched him worm his way in and like take over, and he's threatened her. She knows this person or this creature. She knows him better than anyone else. You need to listen to her.
I think the fact that they're all human didn't give them the right take on the fact that he didn't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't have that humanity.
They needed her to tell him. They needed her to tell them exactly what he's like. And to be fair, I mean, I know they didn't want her there in the first place, but it makes sense that they should have listened to her because, rightly, whether you like her or not, she is Callum Harker's daughter, and she grew up around this thing that So the fact that she was just like, yeah, you need to stop thinking north-south. You need to stop thinking of, you are going to lose people, but at the end of the day, this is how you need to do it, and in order to at least give yourself a fighting chance to win. And you've got soldiers out there that want to go out there and fight for fight for the right to like live, and so just fucking use them.
Yeah.
But another person that is a badass is Emily.
Oh yeah.
I love how she's such a minor, like she has such a minor part in the whole book, but when she's there, she is there, isn't she? She's like, she's not some sort of like stand in the background, quiet character. She's there, and she makes an impact when she's on the page, and I just fucking love, I love her. She's also one that just says it how it is, and like will not be scared to put someone in the place. Like the little thing between her and Kate, when she was just like, yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I was like, Emily, I want your approval. Like, I need you to approve. But
She also cares so much about them all. She cares so much about the Sunai. She cares so much about Henry and the FTF in general. She's great.
It's her big extended family.
It is.
They're her babies.
And when they were like, just like the little things that just made me smile as well, like making something for her to eat when she has a conversation with Henry in the kitchen. And it's like, well, some of us still eat in this house.
Yeah. Where she was like, 2 of the 5 people that live here do still eat, you know. So. Oh God.
But there's a line that just proper made me think of a Star Wars reference, even though I've never seen it before. But it just reminds me that it feels like it should be. Where she put Kate cracked a smile, but she let Flynn say the words, "Miss Harker has offered to join the Force." I literally put, makes me feel like this should be a Star Wars reference. I was just like, join the Force. It just made me smile. I don't know why.
Probably because we read at the same time as Becca was at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah, bit too late. We're not going to talk about that.
All of us. It's fine. We finished it though. Unlike me with Near Witches, Andy called me out because I literally had said on the live on Sunday that I hadn't we were all fine, like we hadn't missed them type thing, and then she was like, "Yeah, Near Witch is calling you out, Tori," and I was like, "I'd totally forgotten about that. Thanks."
But yeah, then after that, obviously after all of that, we meet Mona, and I was worried that she was going to be somebody that sort of like stabbed Kate in the back, but she actually turned out to be quite a good ally, didn't she?
Yeah.
Again,
I think he kind of dropped her in the shit, like immediately.
Like, oops.
Wow.
I'll it'll be all right. And then Colin playing soldier. Just like, oh, what did he say to her? Oh yeah, where are you going? To the bathroom. I think I can find my way. And it's just like, But then Moni was like, "You got 15 minutes, and if you're not back,"
and then she wasn't back.
Yeah,
and had Moni's name. I was like,
no.
Okay.
And then
in this book though, because everyone else was like succumbing to the Chaos Eater so quickly. And she was like infected for so long, and
she was
just
fighting that fucker though, wasn't she?
Yeah, wasn't she? She was so like, I've got a job to do, and I'm not letting some monster get in my way. And the fact that she held it at bay throughout pretty much the entire book is amazing.
But the fact that she held it at bay, but also used it to her own advantage as well. The fact that she could see what the monster saw and feel what the monster felt, but she didn't let that overtake her. It just shows how much of a strong badass she is.
She is.
Then it makes you think though, was it a case of these people had these thoughts that, popped into their heads and they were so weak-willed that they were just like, yeah, I'm just going to go along with it. And that's how the monster was so easily, took over them so easily. Because they just let it.
I don't necessarily think it's that everyone else was weak. It's almost like her life had trained her for that moment, because she was always thinking of like bad shit and wanting to appear strong. And like when she killed that Malachi, and then afterwards she let herself crumble. But up until that moment, she was like so determined. She was, when she was trying to be the daughter that her father wanted and all of that. So I think she'd spent so long kind of like training herself to push down. She like was repressing everything that happened to her mum. She was repressing this, repressing that, to be strong. That when that came, it was just one more thing to push down, and like she'd almost trained herself since her mum died, really, to push everything aside and focus on your goal. So I think that was maybe part of it, because a lot of the people, soldiers in the FTF, they're not soldiers.
Yeah.
They're recruits. So they or like
They
they've
just
gone
peoples.
but it's not like they've gone through vigorous army training, half of them, and the ones that are really good are just the ones that either have had that training before or have like taken to it really well. But most people, you know, just walk off the street and they're not going to have
Give
that
me a
kind
uniform.
But we're gonna talk about another type of relationship in this book, which was Sloane and Alice.
Yeah.
I loved their dynamic though. As much as I hated them, their dynamic was great because they were so vicious to each other.
The fact that she'd call him father spitefully.
Just to piss him off.
Yeah, and he
and every
hated
time
that.
he got pissed off even more because he's not. I'm like, not your, and not your father. Yeah, I loved it. Because technically, they'd be more like uncle and niece.
Monsters. They're just monsters. But yeah, I didn't. And the fact, and I didn't even realise this until it was brought up in the bloody book that August never mentioned that Alice was there. It didn't even twig to me that Kate didn't know that Alice was there. Because it's just, obviously, we focused so much on, like, you know, August changing, Kate changing from where she's been, and everything else going on, that when that comes up, and then Kate sees her, and I was just like, she didn't know. And the fact that she was like, well, why didn't you tell me?
Blindsided.
Yeah, and she had no idea how to deal with it. And then the creepiness, like, finding out that the thing had, like, taken her mum's name, and she said that obviously it takes the name of the darkest thing that, like, haunts her, and she blames herself for her mum's death, so that's why the monster would have chosen that as her name. That was another sad moment. Not gonna lie.
Paul learning that Sloane's name came because Callum had killed his like second in command, basically, like his right hand man, and that was kind of how he took that name. I was like, oh, I did wonder where that came from.
Yeah,
that was quite cool.
Very cool, but at the same time, no, do not like. Very creepy.
At one point on page 359, I just wrote, Sloane and Alice, evil, need to die.
Yes, yes, they do.
It took Grace Green from 59 to come to that conclusion.
I mean, I figured out on the last page of the last book.
But it's just, like, even, I don't know, because obviously we had a full book to go. I didn't know whether, I kind of assumed it would be the case, but I didn't know whether Alice would have any sort of redeeming qualities or anything like that. But obviously we find out as the book goes on, like, none of them have any remote goodness in them. And yeah, so I was just like, this, as it was getting near the end, I was getting more and more worried that the bad guys were going to win, because things only start turning around like near very, very close to the end for most people, because, you know, they go out and they go off and they're like, right, okay, I know where the chaos demon is. Keep demon. I know where the chaos monster is. We're gonna go out. And the fact that Sorrow was just like, go after her. You know, that's the bit I was like, yeah, Sorrow.
when
Just come
Sorrow
around.
you would do all this for one sinner, and he was like, I would do it for a friend, and they were like, fair.
As you were.
As
As
you
you
were.
were.
Carry on. I
So
loved Sorrow's growth actually throughout the whole book.
Yes.
Like very much of it got highlighted as like important character moments, because from the person that they were at the start to how they were at the end, where they were like, oh, I don't really know what to do now because all the souls are like pink. What do we do? And he was like, well, I guess we're just not supposed to do it. And they were like,
fair.
And I thought that was so different from how they were at the beginning, where they were like, I'm a Sunai, I'm fine. Almost like a robot at the beginning.
Yeah, it was like they had no heart. They had no concept of feelings.
They
had
were
no
very,
concept
they
of
were baby.
Yeah.
It was only like less than 6 months old. They was baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they're still learning the way of the world, and like it actually very much like an android, just like, I am a Sunai, this is what I do. Have I had a day? What a weird question to ask me. And then by the end of it, they're like, people can be more than one thing, and I will do the right thing. And yes, friendship is a very real reason to go. And I was just like, yes, we love to see it. The character growth is real.
But the thing is, it didn't need to be this massive gesture or this massive moment with Sorrow. It was very much small conversations that you have to be paying attention to the book to actually pick up on these things. It's not something that is immediately like thrown in your face as like, this is a massive character growth moment. It's the subtle ones.
Quiet moments,
yeah. And
Sorrow
it's the
was
fact
such
that
a badass too, because they're like constantly like superhero landing, like jumping off it. when there was the explosion and August went into the river, and that was when Kate first saw Alice and was like, the fuck? And then she was like, sorry, and it was like, too late, bitch. Like, sorry's already leaped past, landed, dove into the water. Like, way ahead of you, bitch. That's my brother. I'm gonna go get my brother. I'm
yeah. And it's the fact that they had the thought process to think like, that's someone I care about. I need to save them, because had they been in like robot mode, it's like, well, they're a Sunai. They eventually come to an end, and that's the way that August ends. If there was no feelings of like sibling love and stuff there, then they wouldn't have jumped for him. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that they were willing to potentially risk their own existence, because not really life, isn't, they're not really fully alive, I don't know, but risk their existence to save him, it just, again, that was a very subtle growth moment, but it goes to show that being around humans and like the complex nature that we have as beings, it was just opening their eyes a bit more to the fact that, you know, sometimes it doesn't make sense, but do it anyway because love. Because love.
Yeah, and also like their character growth, and when they're at the end, they start questioning, oh, you know, yeah, okay, I see it. People aren't all black and white. It ties back to that like thread that I was talking about earlier. And when that woman shoots August, her biggest regret, her biggest gripe about it all is that her husband made a mistake and had changed, and that wasn't being taken into consideration. And that kind of got that thought into August's mind. Oh, people can change. And then he passed that on to Sorrow, so that by the end of it, you've got these two basically indestructible warriors.
Yes.
Humans are not all good and bad, and we should protect them. We should protect humanity against the actual monsters. And they had almost stopped seeing like a red soul as a sign of a monster, and had started thinking them as a barrier between humanity and the other monsters. And I just thought it was I thought it was great. Like, that both August and Sorrow have great character growth, and I think that as a duo they work really well together. And I can just imagine after this book they become like a real badass duo. Like,
what FTF with Colin being as little, I'm gonna be his own.
Colin's at the front.
Yeah.
Wait, August, this is my
Follow me,
task.
guys. I mean, there's darkness over there. Let's go.
Colin, you don't even have your gun. I don't need a gun.
I have friends.
Like this, you've got a fist of justice.
Oh my god, he's just one of those
Bless
people. He's just like, Colin, slow your boat, like reel it in a little bit, just chill. It's like this like happy little kid that's like, oh my god, I have friends. I have a purpose.
We're gonna fight monsters. People will die, but some people won't.
When we're gonna have to speak about a sad bit now because it's I'm running out of happy things to talk about.
As we say, we're getting towards all the sad things.
So again,
More sad things.
Schwab making you think something bad's gonna happen to Henry. He's like, I'm gonna come with you when Sorrow lets him go, August go. Henry's like, I'm gonna come with you, and then gets taken by Sloane. At this point, I am like, this dude has just sacrificed himself for a group he never wanted to be a leader of, for the son he's just been trying to raise properly, and he's just going to sacrifice himself and leave Emily. And
the way he admitted it as well.
Become a martyr.
That was really easy. It's almost like you wanted to be caught, and he was like, well, if it brings the fight here where I wanted it, then I guess I did that.
And the fact that he was like, you know, I'm not a movement, I'm a man, or like, yeah.
I'm not a man. I'm not a movement, I'm a man, but if I have to be a movement.
Yeah. And that to me in my head was like a scene in a movie that has like the very dramatic music playing behind it. And it was that moment you're just like, yes, Henry! You be that movement, but don't die.
It's like,
they will come and get you, friend.
Have you ever seen Pacific Rim?
No.
With the big robots?
No.
Oh, it's so good. But Idris Elba has this amazing speech, right? And he's like, I can't even remember it, but he's giving this real, like, rousing speech, and it was amazing. And that's kind of how I imagine that bit when he's like, well, I'm a man, not a movement, but whatever. But when I went to see Pacific Rim with my cousin and her husband, it was me, Rob, and then Wendy, my cousin. And we were watching it, and he was getting to his big moment, and we were like, me and Rob were like, dude, this is awesome. Just so focused on Idris giving his big speech. And then Wendy went, what time is it? And we were like, shut up! She was like, fuck.
Superhero landing. That was Henry.
Zorro loved the superhero landings. They were all about it.
I think all of them are just superheroes. I think Henry, like, especially like when we get to a point where he's being caught and gets injured, and then they're coming in to try and help him. I'm just like, this dude is not gonna die. And then Emil was like, you don't die on me. And that whole thing, if I'd had enough tabs to just tab that whole bit as sad and blue, then I would, but I ran out of blue tabs. So that whole scene, I wasn't like sobbing, but tears were streaming down. I'm like, I'm waiting for it to be like, he's not breathing anymore. I was waiting for the moment. The moment was gonna come, but no, we lost Ilsa instead.
That whole section, I was like, I can't breathe. Like, I physically felt like I couldn't breathe because it was like,
Ilsa broke me.
Yeah, it just went so instantly from fuck, Henry's in trouble, we need to get Henry, to oh my god, why is this place empty? Wait, we're all fucking here. There's so few people that can protect home. Oh fuck, turn around and hightail it. Oh crap. Like, it was like the whole thing. I was like, I play solitaire games when I listen to audiobooks, so I don't normally read at the same time. And that bit, I like stopped, and I was like sitting here like, shit, bitch, like, but, like trying not to like read further than the audiobook, because the audiobook narrator, I really enjoyed it. But I was like, my heart was like pounding, and I was like, bitch, no, bitch, Do you know when you're just like trying to curse an author out and you're like, this doesn't help. It's printed already. It was printed fucking years ago. But bitch.
This end section is exactly what I'm talking about when I say the Malachi scare me more than the Corsi, because the Malachi had a fake bomb to use as bait. They pretended that Henry was going to explode to get them all to go running so that they could attack the compound without the best soldiers in it. Like, that is some cunning shit.
And
they'd already
used
planned
the
it
old
before.
subsea, like
Yeah.
the subsea, not subsea, subway. So like they could come up in the middle of the compound. So even the soldiers that were still there, they were already past them.
Yeah.
Like that is why they're so scary, because they're so clever, and you don't expect it. You're like, oh, you think of the Corsi, they're just kind of out there. I'm gonna beat everyone, great, but they're pretty dumb.
Yeah,
you can get away from them. The Malachi are out here making fake bombs, coming up with plans, subterfuge,
serial killers,
cities. Like, it's a bit scary, you know?
Yeah,
They're more friends.
And the fact that this was when you think about what happened, you're like, oh right, so when they were blowing shit up, they weren't just blowing shit up for the sake of it. They were blowing shit up to make a gateway into like the underneath. And I was like, oh my god, that didn't twig at the time. I was just like, because you're so focused on the fact that something's blown up and August has fallen through the floor, you don't think about the reason why the bombs were there in the first place.
Also,
Which
remember
exactly why he did it, because it's the same way as like Henry is a red herring, because you're like, Henry's going to die in this book, Henry's going to die, and then they're like, psych, we killed Rez, and psych, we killed Ilsa, and psych, we killed Kate, which we'll come to. Henry. And then when the explosion goes off, you're like, oh my god, like August is drowning and Sorrow is being a hero, and August and Kate and Alice, the girls are fighting. You're just so distracted by all that you don't think, I wonder why she exploded everything.
Yeah.
Like, what was you're so distracted by the fact that there's explosions going off and people are drowning and dying and fighting, and then you don't really think about it because the plot moves on, and then when it comes back to it, you're like, oh, you sly bitch.
It's so much like that magic trick, you know, when they're like, you focus so much over here that you don't see what's going on over here.
With a sleight of hand.
Yeah. My
I
heart was ripped into like 1,025 million gajillion pieces, and I was not ready, even though I knew from everybody that it would hurt.
The thing is, I thought, because everyone's like, you've got sadness, he's gonna hurt, he's gonna hurt, he's gonna hurt. I thought it was because I thought Ilsa was gonna get hurt again, but I didn't think she was gonna die. Obviously, as it went on and we started seeing more of Ilsa, I did have a feeling she might sacrifice herself, but I didn't obviously know how it was going to happen, when it was going to happen, or whatever. But because everyone's like, you feel so much pain, I was obviously getting ready for the pain of Henry finally dying. Because even though it was building up to that, it was very much a case of, I didn't want him to die because he's one of the people that grounds August. He's one of the people that's raised him to be who he is, and he's one of the people that has a massive influence on his life and that August really loves, and he's already lost Kate and he's still struggling with getting that relationship back, and you know he's lost so much, and he's just lost one of his closest friends and he clearly is blaming himself for that, so he's got all this shit that's going on. I was like, you can't lose your dad as well, like the only dad you've ever known.
Plus, if he does lose him, he's probably going to have to be the leader, which he don't want to be.
He's already alpha and he hates that enough.
Yeah, and I was ready for that. So I thought that was the pain that people were talking about, that was going to happen, and that would hurt, because obviously it would, because we all love Henry, and if you don't love Henry, the fuck are you? Sorry. But the fact that, again, as they get closer and closer to when they went into the compound, and I realised that Ilsa was in the compound, and she hadn't gone with the rest of them, and they were all like nowhere near. I was like, the only person who could do anything right now is the one person that's already been through another person, monster that's been through so fucking much. And that whole thing, when it was just it wasn't a big dramatic death either, was it? It was a one-liner, and like she just went to dust, and I was like, what?
Can we just backtrack slightly there and talk about how badass the fight between Ilsa, August, and Sloane was.
Oh, like tag teaming him.
Yeah.
That I literally could see that playing out in my head, and I was like, this would
Yeah.
make such a badass moment in a movie.
Yeah.
Because like she had her knife, he had his bow. They were both like Sloane went for him, which was a mistake because Ilsa's just as deadly. And like I could just see this fight playing out. And then when he
Yeah.
died, like yes, and then fuck the Chaos Eater is no longer a shadow. It has like lungs that he can hear breathe. It has like a form.
That made me
And
feel sick. That made
I
me feel so
love the way
sick.
it was written though, because he's like, oh, you know, I've done this and I've reached the soul of my brother and it stayed with me. I wonder what will happen. And then he doesn't get a chance to even finish that thought because Ilsa's like, move, bitch. And it's like, I'm not letting my brother sacrifice himself for this. I'm going to do it. And she like does it to save August because she sees that he's walking up and she knows whoever does this is not coming back. And she's like, that is not going to be him. And I thought it was just so, if she has to die, it's a beautiful way for her to die because she does it to save her brother.
Yeah.
Not, I'm sure it is also to save everyone else, to stop the big bad or whatever. But I think in that moment, it's much simpler. It's her doing it to save her baby brother.
Yeah.
Which is
so
bad.
It is bad. It's badass. But and
There we
yeah,
go. Page 445. If anybody wants to relive the pain.
I'm good.
No. You said 455.
445.
445.
But like the actual fight is like the next. But it was like I just loved the whole
When August says you're not Leo and it's not 1-on-1, and then him and Ilsa just start going for Sloane. I was like, yeah.
I thought it was gonna be like an epic moment where it was just like they both kill him together, and I thought that was gonna be like a thing, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I just loved the fact it was like she had the knife in her hand and he had the bow in his, and Sloane must have sensed the scales tipping because he took a single step back but was blocked by the body of a fallen cadet, and in that instant of imbalance, August and Ilsa struck.
I would pay good
And then
money.
can we just love the fact that Ilsa moved behind him with a dancer's grace and slid her knife along the back of his knees.
Oh,
yes.
That sounds so fucking. That makes me cringe.
It sounds sore.
Like,
but then it's like Sloane slashed at August's eyes and let back, but Ilsa was there. She kicked out his other leg and his knees hit the floor. She brought her knife to Sloane's throat as August fetched up his fallen bow. But yeah, I'm just like,
I literally at the end of that fight scene, I literally just put yes.
Yeah, it was so good.
But then, like you said, the shadow Chaos Eater becomes real, and it literally says, "I am real," and my reaction was to the "I am real" was, "What the fuck?" What the fuck?
I think I kind of wish I'd physically read this at the same time as listening. I think I would have understood that this was the Chaos, like, monster's thoughts. But because I listened to the audio and didn't, like, I loved the fact I'd opened the book at some point to move like my bookmark, and I'd seen that it was written as verse, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, cool. But hadn't really thought about it because to start with, it sounded like her thoughts.
Yeah.
Just because obviously to start with, you don't really know about the Chaos Eater, even though you've already started to get the Chaos's thoughts.
When you actually read along with it, when you pay attention to the words, it actually makes sense. But one thing that I like that she does at the end of this book is she flips between the scene with Kate and Alice, and then the fight scene with Sloane, and then there's a monster bit in the middle, and then it goes to the Ilsa shattering on the floor, which just fucking broke me, and then it literally goes right back into the action with Kate and Alice. So then you do
that movie feeling, because in a movie you would cut between those two fight scenes because they're happening in simultaneously. So it just added that to me, and it keeps you constantly like there's no time to breathe. Yeah, on edge. There's no time to breathe because you're like, shit, this is happening. Oh, okay, we're over here. Oh, fuck. Is she okay? Well, we'll find out soon because now we're going back over here. You know what I mean? So it keeps you like, fuck. And I think that's like so good because that is how you would feel if you were watching this movie. You'd be like,
so
what? Everyone's dead.
So I was sobbing at this part because if you look at page 458 to 459, there's 4 sentences in a row. Kate drove the spike up into Alice's heart, and Alice drove her hand into Kate's chest.
Yeah.
August sank to his knees on the lobby floor. There was nothing left of Ilsa. I was a fucking mess. Like, mic drop, everything's over. I was like, I had to pause my audio because I could not listen. Like, I was a mess. I had to like go back 30 seconds, and I hated it because I had to re-listen to the start of the chapter again because obviously. And I was like, I hate you. There's hardly anything left of this book. I want it to be over, but I'm sobbing and I am a mess. And I was very glad to have my camera on blackout because I was on sprints.
But the fact that like you don't really have time to mourn Ilsa because you see her shattering on the floor and you're like, well, I say see again. I'm thinking like I'm watching it on a movie screen, but like in my mind, like you see her shattering on the floor and you're thinking, right, I'll deal with that later. But I'm hoping that there's going to be some miracle cure that she somehow isn't
actually
totally dead. And then
being dust. What's wrong with her? Shake it off.
Shake it off. And then you go into like the whole intenseness.
It's like that scene in Age of Ultron where Captain America's like, if you get killed, shake it off.
The fact that you then go into like the 2 pages, obviously, where it gets really intense with Kate and Alice, and then you see those 2 lines that Tori just kindly read out that I'm not going to read again. And then
I just want to make everyone hurt with me.
That hits you, and then you go back, and then you realize that she really is dead, and then you've literally got to just gone past the part where you think, "Fuck, Kate is also dead," but now we're having to mourn Ilsa and see August go through the pain of like his sister, there being nothing left, and I just wrote on this page just sadness. just sadness.
I feel like I'm going to talk about 2 things. So one is imagine being August in this moment. You've just had to fight. You killed the bad guy. You're like, fuck, there's a monster. You're about to sacrifice yourself. You watch your sister sacrifice herself, turn to dust. You pick up a tablet on the floor. It's still streaming. And you're like, fuck, Kate. You hightail it over there as quickly as you possibly can to find her bleeding to death. And then she dies in your arms.
How did he not fucking snap? I'm sorry.
All while thinking that your dad is also critical / dead.
Yeah.
You got no idea what's going to happen with all these people now. Because thankfully Zorro understood what you said when you was like, fuck, I've got a plan, but I need to fight Sloane. You go and play over the intercom. And they were like, fuck yeah, I will. That's a great idea. And like sprints up there and then plays the flute over the thing and calms the shit down. And sorts everyone out.
Well, the last time we saw Colin as well, he was bleeding on the floor.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Oh, I shut them out." Like,
these people in here are safe. I'll just be here. You go. I'm fine.
He's like that. I feel like he's like a golden retriever. Like,
yes,
100%.
Totally.
He will protect them all, and he wants to be the best guard dog that he can be, but he just is a little bit too excitable, so he doesn't really pay too much attention. And they kind of know that the instant shock of golden retriever, big dog, will scare people until they realize that they're going to lick you to death. Because I had a retriever, and that's literally what my retriever would have done. But like,
there's so many things. I mean, I know Colin wasn't a massive part of the book, but obviously, as a character, the short time you see him on page, he's just a cutie. He just didn't deserve anything bad to happen to him. So the fact that he was ready to sacrifice himself to keep other people safe, and he was sat there bleeding, it doesn't really tell you that he's okay till after we've gone through the torture of him also losing Ilsa. We don't know if Henry's alive. I'm just presuming Henry's dead at this point. So in my mind, Colin,
everyone's dead.
Golden retriever. he might be dead. Emily's alive, but obviously going to be distraught because her husband's dead. And then he lost his sister, and then they lost the woman. Oh, we missed the whole kissing part. They finally fucking kissed, and then war
This.
happens.
Nearly accidentally reaped her soul.
Yes.
Whoops.
And then then fucking war happens, and then this person that he finally they both give in to their feelings, and then he goes in and like, she bleeds to death. I was still hoping when he was going on about how much blood there was, and I'm like, he's going to become a channeler. He's going to be able to channel some energy. he's going to unreap the soul. He's going to have the power and the ability. I was like, there's going to be some convenient ability that he has that not only, seeing as he can use music and other things to reap souls, he might be able to do something to not reap the soul. That was in my head. That was going round in my brain.
Unfortunately, no.
I
But
hated it.
the fight between Alice and Kate was also badass.
Badass.
And the way she was like, I'm not strong enough to fight Alice, but if I use the chaos monster, I will be. And she pulls on that thread, and she's like starting to kind of hold her own, and you're thinking she's going to win.
Yeah.
And then Ilsa kills it, and although it's brilliant, it's a really bad moment for it to happen, because then all that power that Kate was just drawing on is gone. So like, you're like, yeah, it's dead, fuck, but it's too late. It's happened. Like, it can't be undone. She's already lost the power. And then because Kate she's smart, she's like, fuck, right, I need to gain the upper hand here. She puts a bit of distance between them. She does her best, and she's like, I need that spike. I need that spike to kill her, and the only way is I need to distract her. So she goes, I give up, you win. Distract Alice for like 2 seconds, just so that she has enough time that if she's going, she's taking Alice with her.
Yeah.
What a badass.
That was just,
and she did.
Yeah, that was just epic, that bit. And again, that speaks to the fact that she's thought this out, that it all happened simultaneously. Had the spices happened at separate times, you wouldn't have got the whole dramatic, yay, Sloane's dead, yay, the Chaos Team is dead, no, Ilsa's dead, oh shit, that means Kate has no power now. Like, that whole intenseness that happened over such a short period of time, you wouldn't have got that if she hadn't done the back and forth. And
I would say she wouldn't have got that if it had been solo POV.
Yeah, and you'd have had time to grieve Ilsa, which then wouldn't have been the right time to get to a massive epic fight. So the way that it's just been laid out and things, it was just absolutely brilliant. And the fact that at the end she was the one who was like, I want you to be the one that, like, I want you to reap my soul, I want you to have it. And then when she was like, do they remember or whatever, I was sat there just like like reading the end of this.
My favorite bits in this whole book are right near the end, and one of it is just a small line where he's thinking about Ilsa and Kate, and he says, well, he thinks he missed them both in different ways, marveled even through the pain how different people left such different holes. And I thought that was so beautiful. But my favorite, I think this is such a good ending, and it's a long bit, so bear with me. But it says, once in his first month, August had dropped an empty glass jar. It had slipped through his fingers and shattered on the kitchen floor, throwing 100 shards, some big enough to cup in his palm and others like flecks of dust, impossible to see unless they caught the light. It had taken a maddening amount of time to retrieve all the pieces, and even when he thought the task was done, he would still catch the glint of glass hours, days, weeks later. The monsters of Verity were like that jar. Sloane and Alice, the two largest shards, were gone, but so many smaller pieces remained. The Corsai, they could only hope to starve with time and light, or some of the Malachi had fled into the waste, and the rest were scattered across the city, determined to survive. The Fangs were largely gone, but any stragglers would find themselves prey to monsters or to him. The whole city was in the aftermath, the shards thrown wide, and August didn't know how long it would take to find them all, to take them up and make Verity safe again. As for the humans, they were still divided by anger and loss and fear and hope. Progress was being made, but August was coming to realize that there would always be cracks in the surface, shadows in the light, 100 degrees of greys between black and white. People were messy. They were defined not only by what they'd done, but by what they would have done under different circumstances, moulded as much by their regrets as their actions, choices they stood by and those they wished they could undo. Of course, there was no going back. Time only moved forward, but people could change, for worse and for better. It wasn't easy. The world was complicated. Life was hard, and so often living hurt.
That is
So
so
make
fucking true.
Kate's voice whispered through him, sudden and welcome, and he drew a deep breath. Darkness was sweeping over the city, and there was still so much work to be done. Are you ready, brother? Asked Sorrow, and August lifted his violin and stepped to the edge of the roof. I am. Tell me that's not like the most perfect ending for this book.
The fact that Kate's voice came through at the end, it's like some make it worth the pain. That
it has
so
so much in there.
It has. Still with
it talks so much about like all the different, I think, messages and thoughts that she wants you to take away from the book. She wants you to understand that people can change. She wants you to understand that people are messy, that you can't define everybody by things that they've done if they're like striving to be better. She talks about Kate's thing of like, where are you, where she imagines being in different places, and she's saying like what they could have done, and like the fact that they're still going to go out there and fight for humanity. They're still trying to take
well, they call him brother,
and I just think like I read that whole bit and I was like, I'm going to highlight that all purple for fave bits, because I think it's just such a perfect way to end it, because it leaves it on a bit of hope because there's still a chance for humanity and Verity, but also that the Sunai have changed enough to recognize the different aspects of humanity, and they're going to try and make it work for them.
Yeah, but the fact that he also realized how much he really cared for Sorrow, when he was saying that even I was amazed by the weight of their will and the steadiness of their resolve. So although Sorrow wasn't as human as he was, like with the feelings and stuff, and they were getting there, but he respected the fact that like their will and their resolve was something that made them who they were, like someone he really cared about. And obviously it would work well together if they were both like too soft. Then they complement each other really well, and that whole last 2 pages for me, that's just what you've just read is obviously just after they agreed that like they can't judge them now. Because of the way that the souls are, like the whole thing was just
a proper little unit, and they're going to go out there and fix the city as like those two and the FTF, and I just think it's like such a nice way to leave it, because it's not resolved. It's not resolved. Like there's still shit that needs to be done, so it doesn't wrap it all up in a nice little neat parcel story over. But I like it. I think it's a really good place to end it. It's very
the elegy 6 pages long. You read 2 of them, but can we just start just pass and mention to Allegro once again to the start of the elegy? He found Allegro pawing at Ilsa's door. It had been 3 days and the cat still didn't seem to realise his sister was gone. August knelt down. I know, he reached out gingerly to pet the cat, because obviously last time, cat didn't like him.
No.
I missed him too. Looked at him with sad green eyes before climbing into his arms and nuzzling beneath his chin. August had clearly been forgiven.
That was just adorable, and I love this from Andy. Superhero landing and then he do a credit sequence. Yes, with like a Marvel Solid Rock-esque song.
Honestly,
yeah,
because he steps up to the edge of the roof. Maybe in the movie he'll step off it, and
I literally in my head I was like he was playing as he stepped. Yeah, in my head he was gonna like. They were both going to step off, because obviously they don't really get hurt as much. And then they were both going to play as they stepped off. Like that was totally, it was totally in my head. Like a little jig.
Led Zeppelin kicks in.
That would be amazing.
Can I mention one thing? It's not linked to this specifically, but to Schwab and her books.
Mm-hmm.
The last 5, so this duology and A Darker Shade of Magic, have both had characters where their eyes have changed colour. because the Antari have got black eyes. And part of me is wondering if she's drawing on the whole eyes are the window to the soul thing.
Yeah, I think is that mentioned in A Dark Shade of Magic? Something
I
about
feel like it was
eyes.
magic linked to soul or some
Yeah.
equivalent.
And that's
but it was
what
the
their
fact
eyes-
that it was the fact that obviously in this one, her soul was trying to be taken over by chaos, hence the silver. But like the Antares all had a different eye color as well for like their evolved magic or however you want to phrase it. It was just funny that the two things that we read one after the other both had the same.
I didn't even pick up on that.
No, neither did I. But
obviously the first one in this didn't. But like
but that one did. But I like the fact that like Colin survived, little golden retriever. Henry survived at least for now.
My heart couldn't have taken it. Like, can you imagine if M was left with Sorrow, baby Sorrow, and him, but imagine if like Henry was gone and Ilsa was gone, and we don't like Big Brother, he's an ass, but like it was still kid, like it was still one of her kids that she tried to raise, like
that would have been awful. Andy coming in with it, like if this is a movie, then there's that bit that Jen read is the voiceover as you see August on the roof, and the camera pans around the city view. And Sorrow steps forward when here's what he says. Yes! And then there's above the roof superhero landing roll Curtis music. Oh yes!
Oh my god! Somebody
Andy.
We already know how to end it. You've got to figure out the rest of the two book movies. But we know how to end it.
That ending, and yes, with that song, like flashes of them fighting the different types of monsters at the end as the credits then roll.
But it's got to be played on a violin and flute.
Yeah. No, you could have Elsa singing. You could have Elsa doing the
No, you can't. You've got no voice left.
She's dead.
Sorry.
Imagine if in the first one it was violin and voice, and then it changed to violin and flute at the end of the second one, because that's the two instruments left.
Why would you say that?
We just made
my heart hurts, guys.
Hollywood, stop the presses.
I mean, Andy had the ideas of the fucking superhero landings. That's just. I think you need to write to Hollywood and be like.
I feel like there could be some really cool, like jiggy, like an Irish jig with like a violin and a flute that would be so cool.
Oh my god! In that case, rather than the immigrant song, it should be "Shipping Up to Boston."
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Colin coming into the background, being like, "I'm
coming." Colin could just be in the background, like,
"I'm here for you, friends."
There's a copy of that just come out with two of the YouTube artists that I follow, but it's a bagpipes and a violin, and the cover of that is just amazing.
We need to replace the bagpipes with a flute, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty cool being from Scotland. Like, I'll take it.
Boston way, oh. That's Colin's bit.
Yeah, you got Sorrow and August doing all this fucking badass reaping and fighting and shit, and then like there's August stood there. Not August, is it? Colin stood there with a towel wiping and like, "Come and get back in there, guys! I believe in you."
I've got spare strings in case you need balls.
I've got refreshments.
Do you need some water?
just like throwing water at them. Hydrate!
Oh god.
I think we've nearly covered everything, but
what did you two rate it? I know that I was late, so I missed it. But
5.
Cool. Just checking.
Yeah, don't worry.
Don't worry.
I wanted to just touch on how much I loved the use of like music throughout the duology.
Yes.
Because I really, really loved it that it was like the way to bring the soul to the surface, but then he kept finding other ways, like kissing. See, this shows a very different side between him and Leo. Leo's like, you can also bring it by causing immense pain, or you can get your end away. Like, you're going about this the
Be a
wrong way.
teenager.
Oh, could that amount to necrophilia? Because they'd be dead by the end of it.
Well, I mean, at least they go out happy.
That is a happy ending.
Well, then.
But I really, really liked the way that it was used, especially in this book, because August starts to find different ways to use his music. Like, because in the first book, he's like, I can never play and finish a full song because you know, it always just, it's not safe to do it in the compound because it's not soundproof and blah, 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 blah. And then in this one, he plays for hours and hours because he realizes if he changes his song, he can play it just to soothe that prisoner.
Yeah.
And then,
he does it to
really made me hate them when they were like, they walked in because they still didn't understand yet. And when he'd been playing for hours and he was like, if his fingers were normal, they would like be bleeding and his hand was all cramped and stuff. And then Sorrow was like, oh, do you need help? And just like snapped the guy's neck. And he was like, it's total opposite of what I was trying to achieve. Yeah. Sorrow was like not quite there yet. So again, another point showing their character progression. But I really loved the fact that he'd found a way. And then Henry was like, you need to come and play for all the dying people. And it was just like, it was so good to see because all August wanted to do in that first book was to be able to play. And here, he was playing all the time, but he didn't like it because of what he was having to do. And then he found a way to play without having to just make it about taking souls. That he actually provided the comfort that he wanted.
I also loved that character development though, because it went from him helping the prisoner to him helping all of the injured to him telling Sorrow go play over the tannoy. Like, if he hadn't made that progression himself to realize that he could change his song and that it didn't have to be deadly every time. Like, Sorrow was new. Sorrow wouldn't have known it. Like, we knew his reaction to the first one was, bye, guy. See you later. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the progression, Sorrow wouldn't have known that. Like, Sorrow wouldn't have instantly gone, my song can help free these people.
No.
So the fact that August had to struggle. Yeah. But I'm glad he got there, and the fact that at the end they were both on the roof, like, I am taking it in my head that they are fucking like playing for the city. And they come in, they get you people.
The little nod to music as well, where they're called verses instead of like normally it's like book 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
But this is like verse 1, 2, and 3. Like the little nod to music was lovely, and the whole book was just great. And Becca would hate me, so I'm glad she's not here. But look how I can't even see it that well. Like the spine is totally bent.
Oh yeah, mine too. But it's not great anymore.
But I'm getting the hardback in September anyway when it comes out, so it's fine.
Same.
But it means it's a loved book, and I'm not going to get rid of this book. I've written in it. I can't get rid of it now anyway. I've literally written on the page.
Can you both do that with your books for me? Oh my god.
And I've written in red pen and blue pen throughout the whole book. So I don't think anyone else would want my thoughts
now.
I'm sure if any annotations would be wanted in a book, it would be the author's annotations, not mine.
This is how much mine has been opened. Like, it's been opened. I have physically opened it, but like...
Oh, honestly.
When I was hiding last night, I was really glad that Becca wasn't on Backstage Sprints because this was getting in my way. So I was like,
yeah.
And I was like, oh, she'd hate that.
I literally, like, I had man like this at one point. Yeah. Like, it literally folds.
See, I couldn't do it with my book, but I don't mind if other people do it with theirs. Like, it's your book, love it how you want to love it.
And I fucking love this.
I'm never going to get rid of paperbacks because I've spent
No.
time highlighting them. So
Yeah.
no
And
one's
it's
allowed
gonna be
to.
a reminder. If you want to go back and reread, you're not gonna want to read your special pretty editions here. Like these special editions are there to just look nice. These are the ones you go back and read over and over again. And that if someone wants to read it, I'll be like, you can borrow this one if you want my annotations and tabs in it. It's fine.
It's like
Oh,
I'm
I'm
they're,
sorry.
not, they're loved.
I love my book.
I did okay, Chloe.
It just it sits nicely on the flat surface now.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm quite sad that I don't have paperbacks of Gallant or Vicious or Addie LaRue because I probably won't. But
I
I'm
have Vicious. I mean, you could get a paperback of Addie LaRue. I mean, if you put it on your wish list, you might get it. But I have
it's not out yet, my love.
a paperback of Addie LaRue.
It came out this week.
It is.
Oh, it's on my wish
Or-
list.
or
Don't
the
buy it for me. Stop. I'll buy it nearer the time. It's fine.
Just got 4 months to go.
Yeah. But speaking of the next book in the series, in the Trouble of a Ding Dong, we're reading Gallant.
I have no idea where mine is.
I'm gonna
Good.
have to take
Because
physical notes of this. Because I
My
can't write and tab in this.
I'm not
writing and tabbing in this edition. I might just buy a standard edition to tab. I don't
I'm
think
just
the
gonna
paperback
when
of
the
this
paperback
is.
comes out, I'm gonna get it and then tab it. I was gonna get the paperbacks for Vicious and Vengeful, but I want the red ones and they're quite pricey. So
I have Vicious, because I bought it myself, and then Emma kindly sent me Vicious and Vengeful hardbacks. So, I just need to buy Vengeful in paperback, and they'll.
I don't want the black and white paperbacks because I've got the black and white hardbacks. I really want the red ones, but because they're like, I think they're the American ones, aren't they? So they're quite pricey. So I'll see.
Yeah, Gallant is the only one without one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I'll just have to read it again when the paperback comes out and have it.
Shame.
Oh no! So
I had the audio lined up, but my issue is because I don't have the actual paperback, I can't flip to make notes. So
Well,
I have a few weeks to figure it out. We're fine.
We are fine.
It's fine. It's all fine.
Yeah.
My heart is not broken.
I mean, have you read Gallant?
No, I was talking about this though.
All right, no, but have you read Gallant?
No.
I mean, it doesn't break you as much. No, it doesn't. I don't think it does. I don't think I cried at Gallant. I can't remember. I don't think I did. There's very few books that I haven't cried at in my lifetime, but I think Gallant is one of them. Saying that, I probably fucking sob at this one now because I'll just forget what happened. But from what I remember, I don't cry at it. But I don't know why I keep holding this up. But yeah, next month is Gallant, and it will be on Tori's channel. Iron Brew.
Oh, you're here.
Iron Brew.
Because I'm in the middle.
And so, yeah, thank you very much for joining and participating in El Discussionito. I'm going to go and probably cry at Jade Legacy now. So that's going to be fun. The live show for Jade Legacy, if anybody was interested, has been moved to Monday. Not because of me, because I've almost finished it. Chelsea has got a bit behind because of work and shit. So, and we did organise it for next Wednesday, but that is the By the Angel Long live show. So I double booked myself because I'm normal. So
live shows.
I know. I have a life, guys, just behind a camera. Or in front of a camera, whatever you want to say. But yeah, we'll see you all. Andy is live tomorrow. Is she? She is, isn't she?
I don't know why I'm pointing. You're not Andy. Andy. She's in the comments.
Andy is in the comments.
That way.
Andy is in the comments.
Well, technically I'm going that way, but is the comments there when we're live? Is it?
I don't know.
Somewhere.
Somewhere around there are comments by Isa Buried. She's live on the morrow. I don't know.
I will be there.
Oh,
but it's not me
will
that
be there. But maybe, probably, I think so. Yeah. And we'll see you all
Next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you guys.